What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going over my Prizepicks plays for Sunday, Week 11. Prizepicks newly created the 6-pick flexes last week, so it's definitely brought on a lot of excitement. I will have 6 picks in this video. You don't have to run them all in one play. You can mix and match, or if you feel like you do enjoy these plays or you are on the same side, then you can run it if you want to. But I got 6 picks in this video. I feel good about them. Hopefully we can go at least 5 of 6, if not all 6. But let's get started. As always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it if the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. These are a lot of the guys that I like for DFS for tomorrow. First one that I'm looking at is we're taking over passing touchdowns. And out of these 4, Cousins is definitely a good option against Dallas. Baker's only at 1. So that one also looks pretty free. But I'm taking Dak Prescott over 1.5 passing touchdowns against the Minnesota Vikings. It is just a very, very good matchup. We saw the crazy game that the Vikings played last week against the Bills. And now they're going up against a Dallas team that's playing pretty well offensively. Last few weeks, just without Elliott, they've been kind of prioritizing Pollard as running back, and he's been doing great. Elliott should be back this week, but Pollard has definitely earned his fair amount of touches, and CeeDee Lamb exploded last week for a couple touchdowns against the Packers, and Prescott is looking better, so 1.5 passing touchdowns against a poor secondary that's given up a lot of yards this year. A lot of passing touchdowns to quarterbacks. Feel pretty good about going with the over on Dak Prescott. Expected to be a pretty high-scoring game. Looking at over receiving yards, there's definitely a bunch that look pretty appealing. One that I like is we're going to Washington, going up against Houston. We know Houston is really bad against the rush, but their secondary, they have some pieces back there. But ultimately, McLaurin, the way that he's been playing recently, coming off of a great win against the Eagles on Monday night, which nobody saw that coming. They were 11.5-point underdogs. However, they're playing with some confidence with Taylor Heineke, playing really well. I know Rivera lost his mother a few weeks ago, so they were kind of rallying behind him. You saw in the press conference after the game, or the locker room after the game. But McLaurin and Heineke, they've hooked up a lot last year. This year, it's kind of been a struggle for McLaurin early on because Carson Wentz was the quarterback for much of the beginning of the year until he had to leave with an injury, and it's been kind of a blessing in disguise for the team with getting Heineke back there. He's a competitor. McLaurin and him have, like I said, they've had great chemistry. Expect McLaurin to have a much better second half of the year since Heineke's taken over. And 59.5 receiving yards against Houston. It's a good matchup. I mean, I'll take the over. Wouldn't be surprised if he could have a big play and gets a chunk of it in just one play. Looking at some over receptions that we can look to. There's a few that I like. The first one is going to Denver, and we are taking the over 4.5 receptions on Courtland Sutton. So they are pretty banged up with their pass catchers. Jerry Jeudy's out, as well as KJ Hamler. So they're going to rely on Courtland Sutton and their rookie tight end, Dulcich as well, and probably some of the running backs to catch some passes. But expect Sutton against the Raiders. They've been a mess all year. Terrible. It looked like they were going to be good on paper, but it just hasn't worked out. They're getting gouged defensively. And even though Russell Wilson has been playing poorly, this is a type of matchup where he should be able to at least complete some passes, move the ball down the field, set his team up for some field goals or touchdowns. And Sutton, not having Jeudy there, who was kind of overshadowing him in the weeks, the previous weeks before he left the game last week, I expect Sutton to kind of reclaim his throne as the number 1 wide receiver on the Broncos and hopefully get some good chemistry going with Russell Wilson. So those are 3 that I think look really, really good. We're taking a over touchdown, and we are going with, we'll look at rushing and receiving touchdowns, or we'll just plug him in. David Montgomery over. You got a bunch of props to pick from Montgomery, but I'm taking this over rushing and receiving touchdown. You even have the passing touchdown thrown in here if he happens to have one of those miraculously with a trick play or something. But expecting to probably get an opportunity to go against the ground. Falcons bad against the rush. They are without Khalil Herbert, who's on IR. So Montgomery's been really poor fantasy-wise recently since he's kind of been splitting time with Khalil Herbert. But with Herbert on IR, expect Montgomery to go back to playing 80+, maybe 90+% of snaps at running back. Their backup is like Ebner, I believe. Hasn't had much experience at all. So you can take his rushing yards if you wanted to, or his receiving yards, but I think with the way that their Bears offense has been moving the ball, there's going to be opportunities for touchdowns for that offense, and Herbert's taken some touchdowns away from Montgomery recently. I think it's Montgomery's finally going to play with some aggressiveness, just so he can kind of, even if he's not going to be on the Bears next year, just at least solidify his role in the NFL. So I'm taking his over half a touchdown. I don't mind like over 2 receptions or the over rushing yards or over fantasy, but I just feel like he's going to score a touchdown. So that's what I got. So those are 4 picks I'm looking at. We are looking at another over receptions prop, and this one we are going to the fun night game, and we are going with over 5.5 receptions for Austin Eckler. Last week it was a bit weird. He was playing, or maybe that was against the Falcons, but he was playing, he wasn't playing as much as he would have thought. However, as you see, he's been greened out recently. He's just the guy with some of their injuries with their wide receivers, with Williams and Keenan Allen all year. It's just been Eckler getting so many good opportunities out of the backfield. And against the Chiefs, he expected to be a high-scoring game, back and forth affair. Both offenses are high-powered, even with KC missing a few weapons. Wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers are able to pull it out. Just with last week, it was a tough kind of defensive game against the 49ers, but Eckler's been just balling out recently, and could even have a double number of receptions here with he's had a couple of double-digit catches back at the end of October. So just with some of their receivers banged up, coming off injury, I think Eckler will continue to just get the volume, and especially in a marquee matchup against the Chiefs. And then the last one, we're taking the over 4 receptions on TJ Hockenson. So he's looked really, really good since he's been a member of the Vikings. Kirk Cousins has made an effort to get him involved. And, Adam Thielen's kind of losing some targets with Hockenson there, but 16 catches in those first 2 games, and some decent matchups, but not the best. Washington is decent defensively. Buffalo is very good defensively. And that was going up against Dallas, who are not great. Well, they're good on paper defensively, but as we saw, they're still going to give up some yardage to that comeback from Rodgers and company last week. And even though they are going to maybe force some takeaways, the Vikings with their offense, they'll be able to move the ball against the Cowboys, expecting it to be a higher scoring game, which is why I like Hockenson. I probably think he can minimum get you a push here, if not go over easily like he's been, just with the type of game that it should be. So that's what I got. You can put whatever you want on this. Wish I could put it actual entry in Pennsylvania. Still waiting on that, but this is going to be, if you play all 6, it's 25x. So do what you want with it, but these are the 6 that I like for tomorrow. Over 1.5 touchdowns. Dak Prescott over 59.5 receiving yards. Terry McLaurin over 4.5 receptions. Cortland Sutton over touchdown for David Montgomery, and over 5.5 receptions for Austin Eckler, and over 4 receptions for TJ Hockenson. That's a mouthful. Looking like sportsbook parlays here. But that's what I got. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tomorrow, and I will catch you all next time.